It's not what you photograph, it's how you photograph it. You see, sometimes something will grab your eye and you just know there's an image there, but you struggle to get it. And it's often because your frame of reference is just wrong. You're probably trying to create an image of that thing rather than an image about that thing. And I've mentioned this before, I've done entire videos about it. It's time that I mentioned it again because even I forget about that. And this is often about how we frame something up, how we place something in an environment that offers multiple ways of composing something. And it's not always about going for the obvious. So perhaps this here's a decent kind of idea, because the obvious thing that really stands out here is the blue door. And I walked from the other side of the road and I thought, that blue door is rather striking. But so is this tombstone in front of it. And I kind of wandered over here and with the big lens, I kind of try to get something with the door, and that bizarrely becomes too messy. I know there's not a lot there, but you've got the black handrail, then you've got the black water pipe and such, and that there, it becomes kind of messy. And then I thought, well, actually, if the subject is the blue door, which in my mind it kind of is, but what if we actually focus more on the headstone and throw the blue door into really soft focus at the back? And now we've got a really interesting contrast. You see, the blue door gives the tombstone an element of context. The Gothic kind of shape of the door really adds something to that. There's an element of the door that's clearly kind of religious. It's a chapel. It looks like a chapel. There's a tombstone. You get what I'm saying, you know. We create an image that has meaning well beyond the two subject matters themselves. And at the essence, of course, these are two kind of everyday, mundane things. These are in the village that I live in. I drive past it often. I don't walk past it very often. But because I drive past it, I wasn't really conscious of that blue door. I certainly wasn't conscious of the headstone. But by taking the time to notice, I've ended up with an image that certainly in the viewfinder is quite captivating. And because I'm walking rather than driving and the light's in the right place, this is crucial for this, I've managed to capture an image that I've often seen, often thought of, but never managed to do it. And I don't know whether you can actually see it here, but yeah, Stowe windmill up on the hill over there. And of course, yeah, we've got this driveway here, a couple of cars and everything. Again, long lens from this kind of vantage point, and I'm managing to zoom in, and I'm only picking up the kind of apex of that little flint gable end, a little bit of that path, that little snaky path that's down there, and just kind of up onto the sunlit mill. It's how we frame these things. It's how we take things out, how we focus things that creates our compelling images. Well, never trust a gifted amateur. I absolutely muffed this up because I hadn't seen the communication tower sticking out the back of this. I did try to kind of clone it out and pretend that I hadn't screwed it up, but I went back another day and got this image instead. I had to go a long way down that road in order to get this, because you just can't hide that communication tower. Closer to the mill now, and I've got this field of, well, I don't know what it is. It smells gorgeous, but yeah, beautiful purple flowers in front, and this kind of works for me. Again, without an element of context to this, it kind of doesn't work. As I said before, it's how you photograph things that matter more than effectively what it is you're photographing. And I think this is kind of the thing that you need to kind of always remember, pretty much anything can look interesting if you capture it correctly. Now, yeah, you could argue, well, it's a booming windmill, of course it's going to look nice. But I can assure you, there aren't actually many angles of this mill that kind of work, because there's a road that snakes past it over there, and you've got all of these power lines and telecommunication lines running across here, which really do foul up an image. And I'm not saying they're pretty from this angle, but I think I've kind of got a way of minimising it. So I'm kind of shooting low across the top of this, skimming the top of this beautiful purple flower here. Really soft focus on that, so it's just a kind of blur, but it's kind of easing you in to the image. And the image is not just the mill, it's the White House, the house in front of it, and the mill in a landscape format. I think it works rather nicely. Let me know what you think. Here on the side of the field, I've got these beautiful little fruits here. I'm not quite sure what they are, perhaps sloes. This is kind of context. Using a tripod for this one because we're running out of light and I need kind of precision, so yeah, get the tripod in the right place. Unfortunately, the tripod has got itself a little loose during this trip. I've been using it all day, it's been fine, but now one of the legs is slipping a bit and I haven't brought an Allen key out with me, so hey, yeah, I'm just having to be careful with it. But what we're trying to get with it is this first one here, and then kind of regressing with a very shallow depth of field to the one further back. And we're also capturing a little bit of the leading leaf on it. So we're creating an element of context. Now I'm concerned a little bit by something in the background. You can, I don't know whether you can see here, we've got you probably can't, but there's some of the branches and the twigs in the background are a little bright, and I think they're going to draw the eye, so they'll need toning down a touch in post-production, I think. I'm going to tweak this a little bit because the angles aren't quite right, so I'll have a fart about and show you what I think is a really nice image. So much of what I'm trying to talk about here is about focusing your attention, not just your lens. It's about seeing something and then being absolutely certain how you're going to convey that as best as possible. And I've got it with this barn here, with this kind of window door access at the top. It's actually a really nice image. Yeah, just the scene on its own. I particularly like the weather vane at the top. But anyway, the point is more that what I'm really interested in is just the door and how it sits in with the brickwork. And what really works beautifully well with it is just this greenery kind of just reaching up in front of it. It works in a couple of ways. Firstly, it softens what otherwise is quite a hard image of just straight lines. But also there's a colour contrast to it, but getting close. One of the perpetual problems that we face as photographers is getting bored of the environment that we're in. We often want to just travel around. I'm calling you out actually, Paul Baker, because God, the travelling you do, when I'm absolutely certain you could get some stunning images just around the south coast where you live. But you're not alone in this. Yeah, photographers do this all the time. The thing is that we consider our local environment all too often to be quite mundane, and we ignore those things where actually there are some absolutely perfectly good photographs there. And I'm going to show you some mundane things here in this area in a short while that I'm certain are going to make great images, and I can guarantee you that what I'm thinking of right now, certainly one of them, you've got one within, well, unless you're in the middle of a desert or a jungle, you've got one within a mile of you, I'm certain. Well, I actually wasn't expecting to photograph a fence, and I think actually that's part of the beauty of walking around your local environment and just keeping your eyes open. And yeah, we've got to lean straight into this. It's not what you shoot, it's how you shoot it, because I mean, it's a fence. What's interesting about the fence? But actually, again, if you look at that right now, would you say there's something interesting about that? Well, I certainly do. I particularly like the fact that this passion flower completely stops on that fence post there, and then we've got the painted post on the other side of it, and we've got this demarcation line in the centre. I think that works quite well. There's equally a honeysuckle up here, which is just kind of flowing over the top of it. And again, what we've got with both of these is colour contrast. We've got the greens and the browns, and here we've also got the grey of the concrete. I'm rather liking it. But our choices of how we photograph something over what it is that we photograph, of course, are quite infinite. Yeah, it's not just about the position that you put yourself in. It's not just where you stick the camera, how close you focus and everything. It's how you choose to expose it. And there's so many possibilities there. So that style back there, that works for me in the back of the camera because it's a photograph of tones. That's why it's in high contrast black and white. An absolute conscious choice, because I'm saying that now as I'm walking around having just shot it 2 minutes ago. The issue is that we're working with there a few shapes and a few tones. Well, that's 30 mile an hour, is it? Oh, yeah. It's supposed to be 20 through here, pal. Anyway, the point is that it's a bunch of shapes and tones, and you'll see that I put the second restrictor in the first one, framing it. Now, I might have mentioned this before, and I'm not entirely certain whether I have or not. I think perhaps that's a little contrived. I don't know. I'm in two minds about it, but I think it was important to be able to see kind of both. I suppose I could have offset them so that you could see the both of them and the uprights of the both of them by simply just putting them on different planes, so to speak. But anyway, I've shot it now. I'm not going back to it, but quite a nice image, I thought. The absolute dullest of places can hide the most wonderful images. Now, I'm saying that without, obviously, reviewing these images on a big screen, which is often the acid test of whether something's any good or not. But, yeah, that building, it's some kind of pumping station. The Munsley Beck, the River Mund kind of runs just behind it there, so it's obviously controlling some of the water there. Lots of pipes and such around it. But ignoring the pipes for a minute, although I do think there's something in the pipes, it's just textures and tones, and again, it just screams high contrast black and white to me. Absolutely screams it. Of course, a whole bunch of you would just walk past this because, well, it's not particularly photogenic, is it? Is it? But of course it is. You're not applying your thought process to it particularly. Yeah, it's ugly, and I've got to be honest, I don't want to stand here for very long because it stinks. Pity the people that live over here. It's not pleasant. It can't be all the time, can it? But, you know, it's such simple lines and shapes, visual textures as well. There's not a great deal of texture. I mean, yeah, sure, the algae that's on these pipes and such over here, sure, it will have some texture, but actually it's got some real visual gravitas to it when you start really taking it into account of how it's telling a story of, you know, what it's like to be a bit of stainless steel piping on a waterworks. But it's not just the pipes either, is it? It's that light. And what I find amazing about the light is the whiteness in the brickwork underneath it, almost as though it's been a pipe at some point it's just leaching my skull. But I suspect it's, I mean, I'd hazard a guess and say it's aluminium corrosion. I don't know, but whatever the hell it is, it works great as an image. Now, of course, it's subjective, but I think this looks much better as a high contrast black and white, and that's what I had in mind when I shot it. Like I say, it's not what you photograph, it's how you photograph it. Now, this particular point here is one of the best views there is of the windmill, and it's better to do this in summer than winter because we have some framing. We turn you around and you can, well, you may be able to see, I'm not sure whether it's exposed very well, but it's through the gap in the trees over there. And what's working with it really nicely this evening is there's some real interest in the sky, which is leaving me in two minds as to whether this sits well as a colour image or whether it's better as a black and white. So I've shot it in both profiles in the camera. But again, it is an absolute obvious subject in this area. It's a beautiful thing, and as I said earlier on, it's kind of surrounded by a lot of wires, and this road joins another one, snakes past it. So from a different angle, it's not right. But the cap is free to turn, so the fantail on it. I realise I'm very much shadow here. Let's try and get across the road so you can see my ugly mug. So the fantail's free to turn, which turns the cap around into the wind, so the sails face the wind, and therefore it's not always, you can probably see it better now, it's not always facing in the right direction. Yeah, sometimes the cap is in a different direction, the sails are in a different direction, and therefore it's not as nice, because if it's looking away from you, because of course, yeah, the cap of the mill is a face. Yeah, it's looking somewhere, it's heading somewhere. Because it's not looking at you or looking in your general direction, the image isn't as good. So, fortune this evening for sure. So throughout this video, I've shot a number of things, some of which you would instantly say, oh, that's worth a photo, and many you would instantly say, what the hell are you shooting that? Until, of course, you see the results. And this is all about Well, you might argue it's all about composition, but it's so much more than composition, because it's having the idea up front what you want your final image to look like. Let's get off the road. Here's cars coming past, and yes, there's a lot of pre-visualization in that, but also there's a lot of just kind of moving around, looking through a viewfinder and finding the best place to put the camera. And then, with the great thing about mirrorless cameras and digital cameras in general, but mirrorless more specifically, is of course you get this kind of WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, approach to something. So you can adjust the exposure in the viewfinder or on the screen. You can do all of these things. Of course, in live view on a DSLR, you can do much the same. But the great thing is, it gives you the ability to experiment before you commit to pressing the shutter. And there's elements of this as well that you kind of need to think about, because you could be in danger of beginning to overthink things as well. And actually, often the best way of working with certainly digital photography is to just try it, because it doesn't cost you anything. A bit of time in sifting through them later perhaps, but just try it and learn from the experience. One of the hardest things to do is to look through your own work and be a good self-critic of it, because you've got emotional attachment and the like, and to a degree, there's quite a lot of that going on in a lot of our own personal reviews of things. You can check out a video from a couple of weeks ago that I made about emotional attachment and how, go watch it. But the point being that being self-critical over our work can be really bloody difficult. Yeah, simply looking at something and saying, what's wrong with this? How could this be better? Of your own work is arguably very difficult. It's so much easier to just scroll on by it and say, don't want to see that again. But some of the best practice you can get is just going and shooting the mundane things around you. And when I say mundane, it's the things you see every day, the things you ignore, the things that are very, very close to you right now. I mentioned something earlier on. I haven't mentioned it since, but you've seen a number of them throughout the video. I'm going to run you out in a moment with those things. But again, here, there's a kind of starkness here. Again, you might look at this and say, well, there's nothing there. Look, it's a field. But it's a field with what? It's a field with a telegraph line running over. And I don't think it works as colour, because the colour actually starts detracting from the image. But we've got a certain amount of light coming in, and it's hitting one particular side of these posts here. And I think, again, as a high contrast black and white, it kind of works. It might work better, arguably. You can tell me what you think, if the sky wasn't as faceted as it is, if there was just a complete blue sky, and we had just the starkness of a telegraph pole and a horizon and some lines running through it. But hey, I'm working with a relatively interesting sky. Now, it might not look interesting on the camera at the minute, but there's a cloud base there, and it's shaped. It's got character. So as you can see, the most mundane of things can provide the most attractive of images. The problem is that we're not seeing these things. Well, I am, obviously, because, but if you're not seeing them, then really perhaps you just need to remove the blinkers. That's possibly a good way of putting it. Remove the blinkers, because there are images everywhere. If only you can train yourself to spot them and, crucially, get the right exposure, the right light, the right depth of field, all of these things. Because it's not what you shoot, it's how you shoot it. I'll run you out with those things that are absolutely everywhere.